I'm a community consultant here at Gephardt on issues of poverty, specifically hunger and homelessness. And I've worked in this area for about 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Terrific. So to start things off, I was wondering if I could get your perspective on who's being affected by the hunger problem in St. Louis.
It's not who you might think. So homeless individuals, there's a lot of emphasis sometimes on homeless individuals and hunger, but actually there is no reason why somebody who's homeless in St. Louis should be hungry. There are many feeding programs that help them out, and it's every day of the week at all times of the day. It's really more of the people who are facing food insecurity. So that can be families that are working. There might even be two people working, but if you are making minimum wage and you have a few children that you need to take care of, those are the folks that actually run out of money before the end of the month. And when you have to make a decision on what to buy, and you need to keep your mortgage paid or your rent paid, you need to keep your lights on, food is the one negotiable thing. Food, you decide how much you're going to spend on food. So it could mean that you go to a less expensive grocery store, or it might mean that you just end up putting change together and going to your QT or a local gas station just to buy something for that meal that you have to put, for your children, prepare for your children. So really the food insecurity piece is what is most prevalent in our area, is just making sure that people have enough food to get through the month.
So what are the big reasons behind why food insecurity is so prevalent in St. Louis?
Well, over the last few years, I'd say over the last 10 years, but really since around 2008, we've had a lot of folks who've lost their jobs, or their jobs have been downsized, or they were laid off, or their position was taken from full-time to part-time or something like that. But yet the cost of living, while the cost of living has gone up, their wages have diminished. And so if you end up making a lot less money than what it takes to sustain your household, then again, the first thing that goes is usually food, because that's an expendable item.
How does that work with programs like SNAP and like food stamps to help, whether in terms of restrictions, whether they're able to get access to it in order to get food?
Well, SNAP is there to assist families, to help their money stretch. So you still have to purchase food stamps. It's not like it's a free program, and it's based on your income. So if you are at or below the poverty level, then you get X amount of food stamps per person in your home. So for an average family of four, it's like $4.23 per person per day. And if you try to live on that budget, if you try to just, because there's many things that food stamps don't cover,
right.
Toiletries, paper goods, detergents, so it's just the food. So if you are at a situation where you still need to purchase these food stamps, it still may not be enough to get you through the end of the month. And if you don't, and sometimes you can make just a little bit too much money, and then you don't qualify for the food stamps. So if there's it's a good program, it's an important program to help supplement families that experience food insecurity, but it's not the solution. You go to the grocery store and you decide to purchase prepackaged, processed, frozen, or ready-to-eat food, or it will always end up being more expensive than if you bought the items singularly and prepared a meal from scratch. And so there's a whole generation of people who don't know how to cook. And so programs like Operation Food Search's Cooking Matters, and other programs like that, where they actually teach you how to cook a meal from raw ingredients. That's the solution.
And so what else can individuals do?
So I really do think it's a very grassroots solution to a very basic problem. And hunger in communities could be eradicated, I think, if we just got off of our own turf and just paid attention to the people around us.
Got it. And so what types of action steps should we as individuals take? Is it volunteering at Operation Food Search? Is like, what can we do to help?
Well, we're paying close attention to the fact that charities are very necessary. They've been very necessary in our society for many, many, many years. So we aren't saying goodbye to charities, but there has to be a change to get away from enabling individuals to depend on a charity for everything that they need, to empowering an individual to make changes for himself, even if it's learning to cook.
I'm the Director of Operations at Operation Food Search, involved with basically all the operational side of the largest freeze food pantry in the St. Louis in the bi-state area. So we service about 200,000 people in need each month through a network of about 230 different food pantries, mass feeding organizations, residents' homes.
Great. So to kind of start off, so you just talked about how Operation Food Search operates in a bunch of different areas. How do you see the hunger problem in St. Louis in terms of the need for food donations or for education on nutrition?
We also have to educate. We have an entire staff of nutrition education specialists, dietitians that go into the community to teach people how to eat properly, because the people that are facing this hunger problem are not always eating the best types of foods, which causes other issues in their life. Mm-hmm. So by going out and giving nutrition education and providing fresh, nourishing types of foods, other than snack foods, candies, soda.
And so when people are trying to access this food, do you see that there's any challenges based off of geography?
Yeah, there is a lot of challenges based on geography, because it's all based in the St. Louis area of where the location of the need is. Considering where these pantries are places where people can get food and access, and whether or not they have the transportation and the means to get to where the food is located.
So how do you ensure food safety? Is there a Good Samaritan law to help protect you?
Yeah, there is the Good Samaritan Act of 1996, I believe, was started to protect those who wanted to donate food, to hold them harmless in case they would not be sued in case something would happen. So we are kind of the gatekeepers, and so are our pantries, to be able to ensure food safety and proper temperature and how that food is possessed in order to make sure that it doesn't go bad.
Right. And so within the St. Louis metro area, a big topic of late has been food deserts. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to that concept of what a food desert is and how it's affecting St. Louis.
Well, if you look at areas, the definition of a food desert is, if you go into a metropolitan area, certain parts of that, there are no places for people to shop. Due to the crime, due to the resistance of people to go into those areas with retail and for-profit businesses. So it's hard for people in need to get to the places where they can get food, the food pantries.
How should we be trying to decrease that number of people that need to be fed? Is it something that's economic? Is it racial disparities? Are there other factors at play?
You've got culture, you've got the way people have been raised, you've got jobs, you've got the economic environment of the community that the people are living in. You've got more people now that are living with their grandparents. You've got a third of this 200,000 people that I talked about that we are feeding are children.
Right.
And that's the real challenge for us, is to be sure that we can help with children that really were placed in a situation they had no control over.
Right. There's also some government programs that are out there like SNAP. How do you see the efficacy of those programs and how they fit in kind of the ecosystem of people trying to solve the problem?
Well, we've got programs that we have started that give people some education with regards to SNAP. SNAP is providing its own challenges with regards to each individual state on what the requirement is as far as people getting employed before they can get the benefits that they need. What we do is we're involved more in providing the solution of education and nourishment and providing food. Our growth at Operation Food Search will come from other services that we can provide the community other than just handing food out.
Right.
That's where we see our long-term manifestation of trying to provide other solutions.
Okay, what's that?
I am the food and farm coordinator here at MCE, and my primary role is to support local food systems and sustainable agriculture. Part of my role is leading the St. Louis Food Policy Coalition, and so we are looking to support a thriving, healthy local food system around the St. Louis region, and part of that involves food access. So being able to bring locally sourced products that are nutritious into communities that currently do not have nutritious food, and that issue of access relates to your topic of hunger for today.
Have you seen geographical access to food affect hunger in the region?
Well, we see that there are higher rates of health issues like diabetes and obesity in areas that have limited access to healthy food. In certain geographic areas, there may only be food stores that have more processed food, not a very large selection of whole foods or fresh foods. And so for individuals living in those communities where fresh, nutritious food is scarce, they can often resort to only eating the food that's right there in their community, especially if there is low vehicle access in these communities or public transportation is not very good. Then being able to leave that community to go to a different store that has healthy food is not always possible.
Right, and so when people are going to these different stores, how does price of the food play into things?
That's a great question. So whole foods are often more expensive than our processed options. For example, a bag of potato chips is far cheaper than a pound of carrots or a pound of apples.
So then when the kid comes home from school and the parents are trying to find how to cook meals at their house, how do you see the resources that are available to them affecting their food purchase decisions?
Having the tools at home to know what to do with nutritious food can be an obstacle. So if they come home and they don't have the pots and pans or the different utensils necessary for making a nutritious meal, it's an additional obstacle to being able to have healthy food consumption in the home.
Got it. And does culture or cultural familiarity with different foods, does that play into anything?
Bringing nutritious food into a food outlet that historically has not had nutritious food, if it's fresh food that the community has never seen before, like kohlrabi or fennel, it's not going to be culturally relevant to the family. So if you don't know how to eat it, you're not going to purchase it. And so we have to think about, if we're looking to address hunger in our local communities, being more strategic about what types of nutritious food we're going to encourage seeing in our stores. It needs to be more specific to the community in which you're trying to serve.
Got it. And with governmental programs like SNAP, what are your thoughts on that?
I think SNAP is an important program. It is the program within the U.S. Farm Bill that has the most funding, and it serves millions of people in the United States. One wonderful program that the U.S. Department of Agriculture has recently instilled in the most recent Farm Bill, which passed in 2014, is the Food Insecurity Nutrition Incentive Program, or FINI program. If a family does qualify for SNAP, they can go to a farmer's market that has received the FINI grant. And for example, here in St. Louis, our St. Louis Farmers Market Association farmers markets have funding from FINI, and a family can use up to $25 of their SNAP benefits each visit and get $25 worth of additional tokens from the farmers market, and that gives them $50 worth of money to spend at the farmers market on nutritious food, which is very cool. So from a food systems perspective and the work that I do, I love it because it helps support the farmers here in the region that are growing nutritious food, and that we can also see that we're supporting our communities that may be struggling and our low income families that may be struggling with the issues of price like we discussed.